Hello guys, I'm Yadagiri and welcome to my channel HPI Tutorials. In this video, I will explain about extent reports integration with Selenium, Java and TestNG. This is a very important topic in TestNG as well as in extent reports guys. So please watch this video entirely. Don't even skip a single second in this video. This is my sincere request to all of you who are watching this video guys. If you don't have the time to watch today, please watch this video on some other day. Maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow or maybe on the weekend or some other day guys. But please watch this video completely. I'm going to provide lot of inputs in this video. Those might be helpful in the interview clearing as well as in the framework development also. Fine. So in the previous videos of extent reports, we have already discussed all the topics in the extent reports with the Java programming language. And we have even practiced that, right? So if you are directly coming to this video without watching those videos, I would suggest you to go and watch those videos guys. Fine. I have created a very beautiful playlist on the extent reports. So let me show you that. This is the playlist on the extent reports guys. So it has around 13 videos. So if you see from P0 to P12. So it has 13 videos on the extent reports. In each and every video, I have picked one topic in the extent reports and I have explained in a very detailed manner. So please complete this playlist before watching this video guys. So before watching this current video that you are actually watching, there are some prerequisites. The first one is complete this playlist. So if you complete this playlist, completing means not just watching, you have to practice also. Fine. So complete this playlist. And the second prerequisite is you need to have some knowledge on the TestNG topics like TestNG annotations, TestNG XML, TestNG parameters, TestNG listeners. So these are some of the important topics that you need to have an understanding on. If you don't have any of these prerequisites knowledge, then please fulfill that first. I'm going to leave the links in the description box below guys. I'll leave this extent reports playlist link as well as TestNG playlist link in the description box below. So please go and watch those videos and then come back to this video. It's my sincere request. It's not actually a sincere request, it's a mandatory rule. So if you don't understand any of these topics and if you are directly watching this video, I will definitely tell you that you will not understand even a single word in this video guys. Clear? So that is why I'm again telling you, if you are watching this video directly, don't watch this video. Please go and watch this entire playlist of the extent reports and also the videos on TestNG annotations, TestNG XML, TestNG parameters and TestNG listeners. So these are some of the important topics that you need to have understanding on before watching this video. So let me go back to the slide. So this is the agenda guys. Integration with TestNG. So we are going to integrate our extent reports with the TestNG. So you can do this process in two ways. One is at the annotations level and the other one is at the listeners level. So there are some people who are very much interested only in the annotations. They don't want to use the listeners. And there are some people in a reverse manner, like they don't want to use the annotations much, but they want to use the listeners only, right? So that is why I'm going to make two videos on this topic, one with annotations and one with listeners. So in each of this video, I'm going to clearly show all the points guys. Fine. So you need to watch both of these videos, or if you have any specific requirement like only annotations I want, then you can watch only the annotations. And if you have a specific requirement only on the listeners, then you can watch only the listeners video. Fine. So in this video, I'm going to show the extent reports integration with TestNG at annotation level, not in the listeners level. So I'll completely talk about the annotations only. So let's get started. So first let me go to the Eclipse. Here I have some class files. So I haven't created these class files just now. I have been using these class files in all the videos in the TestNG series guys. So even in the latest video of the TestNG series, like capture screenshots in TestNG. So even in that video also, I have used the same class files. So let me tell you what exactly these class files are. So it's very simple only guys. So we have two class files, base test and test class, and also one TestNG XML file. So in the test class, we have three test methods, test Google, test Facebook and test Orange HRM. In the test Google, I'm opening the Google website and searching for HPI tutorials text and verifying the title of the web page. And in test Facebook, I'm trying to log in with invalid username and I'm performing some assertions. And in test Orange HRM, I'm trying to log in with valid username but invalid password. Okay. So this test Facebook and test Orange HRM are going to definitely fail because intentionally I'm failing them guys. Fine. only the test Google will get passed. And here if you observe one more thing, we don't have any driver initialization part, right? So that is moved into the base test because we have to initialize the driver in every test here. So that is why I moved that into the base test, and I'm extending that base test here. So if you open the base test, here we have a method called setup and also teardown. So in the setup, we are actually opening the browser, and in teardown, we are closing the browser. And also there is one more extra method for capturing the screenshots. Whenever there is a test failure, we need to capture the screenshot, right? So for that, I have created a utility function for capturing the screenshot here. Fine. And apart from this, here you can observe one more thing, that is groups. So I have added all the test cases to some groups, guys. So the test Google is attached to smoke group, and the test Facebook is attached to smoke and regression, and then test orange HRM is part of the sanity group. Okay. And if you go to the TestNG XML file, here I have 3 test cases. So in each test case, I am calling the respective test method. Fine. So here also test Google, test Facebook, and test orange HRM. The same things, guys. Okay. So now I want to do some little bit changes here. So let me tell you what exactly those changes are. I want to perform the cross browser testing so that I can log the browser related information also into the extent reports. So basically I want to create the report something like this, guys. I want to have the past test cases and also failed test cases, and whenever the test is failed, I want to capture the screenshot for that failed test cases, and also I want to log some exception details also into the extent reports. And I need to have all these tabs also in the extent report. So how you will get all these tabs? If you add the exception details, and also if you add the category information, device information, author information, then only you will get all these tabs, right? So just like this, I'm going to create the extent reports now using the annotations only, guys. Fine. So you might be thinking like, why you are using only annotations? Why can't we use the TestNG listeners? As I mentioned earlier, here I'm trying to show you that without even TestNG listeners also, we can work with the TestNG annotations and generate the extent reports, guys. And some people are only interested in annotations, not in the TestNG listeners. So that is why in this video, we are mainly focusing on the annotations only. In next video, I'll show you with the listeners also. Fine. So what are the changes I want to make here? So I want to add the cross-browser testing facility here, right? So for that, I'm going to add some parameters to the TestNG XML, but let me add these things to the base test. So for the before test method, we are going to add the parameter. So we can just make it cross-browser testing. So let me add this and also this piece of code, this entire switch condition. Okay. And let me paste it here. So this will do the cross-browser testing, and we need to add the parameter here. So let's add the parameters. So do we have any parameter with that name? Okay. So let's add manually. So your parameter name should be browser name here. Let me add the parameter. So I'm not adding the parameter at the suite level, guys. Because if you add at the suite level, all of your test cases will be opened with the same browser, right? So that's why I'm adding the parameter inside the test itself, so that I can provide different browsers inside each test. So here I'll just mention this as Chrome, and let me just do the self-closing here. And let me add the same thing. Okay, something is wrong here. Yeah. So let me add the same parameter in all the tests. Fine. So in the second test, I'm opening the Firefox browser, and the third test, I'm opening the Edge browser. And let me also add the author related information. So if you want to add author related information, there is no direct way in the TestNG, guys, but you can add one parameter, right? You can add one parameter and you can read that parameter value inside your annotations. So I'm just adding one parameter here, and I'll say this test is developed by Yadagiri. And let me copy this and put it in the next test also. So here, this test, the second test is developed by G1, and the third test is developed by Arti. So these are my friends' names, guys. So I'm using those things. So let me just align this. Okay, now we have added the browser name as well as author parameter here. But I'm not going to read this author parameter in the before test like this, guys. Okay, I'm going to read that value in the dynamic way. So I will show you how to do that. Don't worry. Fine. So now we have everything ready, right? So here we need to understand few things, guys. If you want to integrate your extend reports with the TestNG, you need to understand few things. So usually how you will execute your TestNG test cases, you will execute your TestNG XML file, right? So whenever you execute any TestNG XML file, what is the order it will actually follow? So when you learn the TestNG annotations, we have already discussed this, right? So if you want to execute any TestNG XML file, what is the order it will follow internally? So it will try to execute the suit first. So before executing the suit, it will invoke before suit annotation, right? First it will invoke the before suit annotation, then it will invoke the suit. And once the suit is completed, it will invoke after suit annotation, right? So that means if you want to execute anything before executing the entire suit, then we need to put that in the before suit. And if you want to execute anything after the suit execution, then we need to put that in the after suit, correct? And also before executing this test, you are going to perform some operations that will be done in the before test. And after the test, you are going to perform some other operation that will be done in the after test annotation, right? Like that, there are so many annotations. So here we are working with the annotations. So I'm guessing that you already know all those things, guys. So I want to actually create the extend reports. But while creating the extend reports, first we need to initialize two objects. One is extend reports object and the other one is Spark reporter object. Basically one reporter object, but here I'm taking the Spark reporter. I'm not considering any emailable report or event stack report or anything. I'm considering only the Spark reporter because it is open source. Fine. So I need to create the Spark reporter object also while creation of the extend report object itself. And then I need to add that to the extend report object, right? So how many times you are going to perform this operation? Are you going to perform this operation for every test or only once? We are going to perform this operation only once. That means before suit, we are going to perform this operation. And after the suit, we are going to generate the report. That means we are going to flush it, right? So let's add the annotations here. So I'll just say before suit and also after suit. So in the before suit, I want to actually create the objects that are needed for the extend reports. And in the after suit, I'm going to flush the report, right? So let me add the methods here. Initialize extend reports. So this is the before suit method, right? And in the after suit, what you want to do, we can just name this method as flush, or you can name it as generate report also. So we are going to basically flush the report, right? Generate extend reports. When you flush, then only it will generate the report for you. Fine. So in the before suit, we want to create the objects for extend reports. So first let's create those objects at the class level. Public static extend reports. Here I'm going to explain each and every point in detail, guys. Like why we are actually creating at the class level, all these things also I'm going to tell you. So here we are creating this object at the class level because we want to access this object in multiple methods. Let's say here I want to access this in the before suit method and also after suit method. If you create within this, you cannot access outside the method, right? So here first let's flush this. So in the generate reports, we are just flushing it. Okay. In the initialize report, we need to create the object for this one, right? New extend reports. But before that, we need to create the Spark reporter object. So if you create the Spark reporter object, then you can attach that reporter to the extend reports, right? So I'm going to create the extend Spark reporter object here. So we will do one thing, guys. We will generate the report for failed test cases as well as all the test cases also. So first I will only generate for all the test cases and then I will show you for the failed test case also. That means multiple reports basically, right? So here let me just name this as Spark reporter underscore all. And then new Spark reporter, I'm directly providing the path here itself. and I'll simply say all test.html. So this is going to be an HTML file, right? So this we need to attach to the extend reports object. Extend reports dot attach reporter, correct? And also we need to automatically open that. So for that, let me just copy the code from any of the class. So almost in every class we added that code, right? So let me add that here, and our report name is actually different. So this is the report name, and it will try to ask you to throw the exception. So just throw any exception here. So now the report initialization part and report generation part is completed. And at the initialization part, are you going to perform any other operation? If you want to log the system related information, you are going to do that only once. You're not going to repeat the process for every test, right? You need to log the information for system only once. That means you need to attach that information also here only, guys. So let's add that information here. So let me copy the same thing from any of the previous classes. So I'm going to only use these two things. I'm not going to provide the browser version and app URL, username and password, because I'm having 3 test cases with different app URL and different username and different password. And also I'm performing the cross browser testing, so I cannot have the browser variable also, correct? So here let me just add this. So this will add the system related information to the extend reports, guys. Fine. So now before suit and after suit part is completed. That means the extend reports initialization and extend reports generation is completed. But we want to create the test cases in the extend reports whenever the test is being executed, right? So before the test execution start, we want to create the test, which means before test method, right? So this is the before test annotation that we already have. So here I'm going to add one parameter, guys, that is iTestContext. So this is a native dependency injection inside the TestNG. It is not actually the reflection concept, but it is a native dependency injection in TestNG, guys. So we are going to use the native dependency injection concept as well as the reflection concept also here. So I'll just mention this as context. So I'm adding one parameter. While execution in the runtime, TestNG will insert the value for this one. So using this context object, now I'm going to create the test in the extend report. Why I'm using this context object basically? Because while you are creating the test in the extend report, you need to provide the name of the test, right? The name of the test is actually provided here. But how do you get this one? You cannot provide that in the static way, right? Because you need to provide everything in a dynamic way. Your extend report should be able to read the values from your TestNG XML file and create the test. So everything should be dynamic way, right? So that is why I'm adding the context. So here context dot, when you say get name, it will return the name of the test, guys. So we are going to use this one. And where do you create the test cases? You will create the test cases in the extend reports only, right? Extend reports dot create test, and I am providing this one. And in this scenario, I don't have any description, but if you have, you can provide the description also, right? So this is how you are going to create the test. And in previous videos, in all the extend report videos, we have created the test and immediately we log the information also, right? Because we are doing in the normal Java. But here we are not going to do that. Why? Because you are going to create the test case before the test execution start, and you are going to log the information during the test execution, right? So if you want to access this object, so whatever the test that you have created, if you want to access this, you need to create the object, right? So the return type of this one is extend test. So for extend test class, we need to create the object. But where do you need to create the object? We need to create the variable at the class level, and we need to create the object here. You are not going to create the object basically. You are going to store the object that is returned by the create test method. That's it. Okay. But you need to create your variable at the class level, because whenever you want to log any other information, you are going to call the log method or info, pass, all these methods on the extend test only, right? So that is why again you are going to create that at the class level. and copy this variable and use this here. So this is good, right? And the next thing is, so here this is fine and we want to log the information. So how do you log the information? So we are actually extending this base test class into the test class org, right? So which means you have the access to extend test object inside this class also. So let me add some logs here. Extend test dot info. I will say navigated to URL. So I'm just logging some information, guys. So based on your understanding, you can log some information here. Some information I'm logging, that's it. And here I will say extend test dot pass, because the assertion is completed, so I'm just passing it. And I will say, okay, so like this you can add the logging in each and every test method, guys. But for now I'm going to only log this first one, not all the things, fine. So here also I'm going to just mention that navigated to URL. So the logging information is also completed, right? So let's go back to this normal Spark reporter. Now we have added some test cases and also we are logging the information. And the next thing is we need to identify whether the test is passed or failed, right? So how do you do that? So whenever you are executing any test from the TestNG XML file, if there is any single method failed, then your entire test will be failed. It will not execute any other method in this one, right? If your single method is failed, it will not execute any other method inside the same test. It will mark the entire test as failed and it will move to the next method. Correct? So which means you have to access which annotation here? You have to access the after method annotation. Once the method is executed, you want to identify what is the status of that method, right? So that means we need to access the after method annotation. So let's write the after method annotation here. And let me just add the method also. I will say public void generate status or check status. Anything is fine, guys. Check status. Fine. So in this after method, add iTest result. So again, this is the native dependency injection concept in the TestNG. Fine. So using this result object, we need to identify whether the test is passed or failed. So let me just write this. If result dot get status equal iTest result dot failure. So if this is actually failed, what you want to do? And then if this is passed, what you want to do? So let me copy this entirely and put it here. So here pass means success, right? So if this is passed, what you want to do? Correct? So if it is failed, obviously we want to capture the screenshot and we want to provide the file name. How do you provide the file name? So if you go to any of the previous one, so this one. So in the capture screenshots method, I have already shown you this one, right? So let me copy this entire line and I'll just put it here. So whenever you use this method, it is going to return the path again, right? So I want to store that path, but where do I store that? So let's create one variable here. Let me name this as screenshot path. And why I am creating that inside the if condition? Because I want this variable scope to be within if condition only. Outside the if condition, I am not actually accessing this path. Only within this if condition, I want to access this one. So that is why I am creating inside the if. So now let's use this and capture the path that is being returned by the capture screenshot method. So once the path is actually returned, I want to attach that screenshot to the extend reports, right? So you can attach the screenshot in two ways. You can attach it to the log or you can attach it to the test also. So I'm attaching it to the test itself directly. So I will say extend test dot add screenshot capture from path. So this is the path, right? So whenever the test is failed, we are adding the path, but we need to also add the exception details, right? because of what exception it is failing. That information also we need to add. So let's add that information also. Extend test dot, we will call the fail method, and we need to add the throwable instance. But we should not actually generate this throwable instance. We need to get the throwable instance that is actually returned by the TestNG itself, guys. So whenever there is a test failure, it will create one internal exception, right? We need to capture that exception. So how do you capture that? So you can capture that using this result object. Result dot get throwable. So there is a method called get throwable. So it will return the throwable object instance. So you can directly use this, fine. And if the method is actually success, that means if your test method is actually success, then we need to add a pass method here, right? So we need to say which method is actually passed, correct? Or you can simply say it is passed, anything is fine. But if you want to just specify so and so method is passed, then you need to add the reflection here, that is method m. So this method m is coming from the java.reflection, guys, java.lang.reflect. So we need to identify which method is actually passed, right? m.get name, which means it will return the method name basically. And here I will say is passed. Clear? So this is how you are going to check the status and attach the screenshots and as well as attach the exception details also. Fine. And we forgot to add the author information, device information, those things, right? So those things we need to add for every test. That means we need to add this information inside the before test annotation, guys. We need to log this information for every test, not to every method, right? So here, this is how you are going to get the browser version and all, right? So I'll just mention that here. So I'm creating the capabilities object and I'm going to get the values of the browser version as well as browser name from that, right? This is my code, okay? So now I'll just mention this as device equals this one, okay? So I'm storing the entire device information into this one, guys. And if you want to only get 99 or 100 or something like that, and if you want to remove all the decimals, then you can just do the substring also here. Substring from 0 to, you need to get this version, and within that version you need to identify the first dot, right? Index of first dot. So this is how you can only get one single version. You will not get the minor version and patch numbers and all. You will get the major version details. So this is the device information. And similarly, we need to get which version, which information again? Author information, right? So how do you get the author information dynamically? This author information is present here. So this is a parameter. So this is a parameter inside this test, right? So let's just copy this parameter name. So here we have a context, right? So let's use the context dot get current XML test. So there is a method called get current XML test. So whatever the test it is actually executing, it will return that one here. Dot, we need to get the parameter value. So there is a method called get parameter. So for this you need to provide the parameter value, guys. So basically the parameter is author, right? So you need to provide the key and it will return the value. So I'm storing all these things inside some string variables and then I will append that, okay? I will add those information to the extent reports. Device and author, and the next one is group information. So we need to add the groups related information also, correct? But where do you have the group information here? The group information is provided to the test methods, correct? So the group information is provided to the test method, which means in before method, we need to get the group related information. Clear? So let's get that one as also. So I'll just log this information here and then we'll move. Extend test dot assign author. Author is author variable only. And extend test sorry, not extend reports, extend test dot assign device. Device is this one. Okay, the device information and author information is also added here, and we need to add one more annotation called before method. So let's add that here. You can actually add in the after method also, guys. Anything is fine. If you don't want to create one more method here, you can add in the after method also. Anything is fine. So let me add in the after method only. So if you want to get the annotation details, so basically your groups are actually present inside the test annotation, and this test annotation is present for this method, right? So how do you get the method details? We are getting the method details into this m variable, right? So let's use the m variable here, m dot get annotation. So there is a method called get annotation. So for this method, you can get any annotation. So what annotation is present for this method? Test annotation is present. So we need to specify that here. And on top of that, what is the variable name or what is the parameter name inside this test annotation? The parameter name is groups, right? So it's not parameter, it's attribute. Okay. So you need to call this one. So it is going to return you a string array, guys. So you can directly assign this to the extend reports, right? So I will write extend test dot assign category. So this category will accept the array also, right? So like this, you can pass. You can do this operation in the before method or even in the after method also you can do. Anything is fine, guys. So now everything is ready, right? So let's generate the report and see. So we are doing the cross-browser testing. The first test is opened in the Chrome browser, and the second test is opened in the Firefox browser, and the third test should open in the Edge browser. You see? The first is open in the Chrome browser, and second is open in the Firefox browser, and third is open in the Edge browser, right? And even the report is generated and it is automatically opened because we added the code for that, right? So you can see 3 test cases are added here, and check the names for the test cases. Test Google, test Facebook, test Orange HRM. From where we are getting the names? This is the name, guys. This is the test name basically. This is the test case name, correct? So this is the name we are adding here. So for every test, you can see at what time it is actually started and what time it is ended and how much time it took. So these kind of information is also provided. And then the tags information, which means the author information and groups information. Groups is nothing but category, right? The category information and then device information. So all these things are provided here. If you check the device information, you can see Chrome 99. It is not displaying all the minor version patches and all these things because we trimmed that, right? We took a substring. So that is why it is only displaying the normal version, major version basically, right? So if you open the second one, so even in the second one also the details are displayed, right? So in the first one, you can also see the logging information. Navigated to so and so URL and entered the text in the search box, and assertion is passed for web page title. Test Google is passed. So which test method is passed? Test Google is passed. Okay, so this is the test method basically. Fine. So this test is actually passed because we are actually passing it, and all the information is also available here. And if you go to the failed test, so the second one and third one, we are intentionally failing it. So if you open the second one, even here also entire timing information is captured, and also the author information and category information and also the device information. So this is executed in Firefox 98 version, right? And here you can see the information navigated to URL. We are only logging this information. And apart from this, because this test is actually failed, we are capturing the screenshot, and also we are attaching this throwable instance, which means the exception details, right? We are attaching the exception details also. You can see no such element exception is thrown here, right? And the next one is this one, test Orange HRM. So this is developed by Aarti. So the author information and groups information and also the device information. So it's basically MS Edge, not the Edge. Okay. So all the informations are actually displayed. And even this test is also failed because of no such element exception. So that is why the entire exception details are also logged here, and we captured the screenshot and attached that, right? And in the left side panel, you can see all the tabs are generated, right? So let's go to the second tab. What exactly this is? This is the exception details tab, right? So if you want to know based on which exception how many test cases are failed, then you can just use this option, guys. So here, because of no such element exception, 2 test cases are failed. That is test Facebook and test Orange HRM, right? And the next one is category. So as part of which category, how many test cases are executed? If you want that categorization, you can see here. So as part of smoke, 2 test cases are executed, and as part of sanity, 1 test is executed, and as part of regression, 1 test is executed. Okay. And the next one is device information. So in the Chrome 99, only 1 test is executed. In the Firefox 98, only 1 test is executed, and also in the MS Edge, 1 test is executed. And if you go to the author, who executed how many test cases and whether they are passed or not, all this information is also displayed, right? Now you see, Aarti's tests are actually failed, and also G1 tests are also failing, and Yadagiri tests are actually passed, right? So the next one is dashboard, guys. So in the dashboard also you can see how many test cases are actually passed and how many are failed, and also you can see the system information is displayed here, and author related information, tags related information, and device related information. All these things are actually displayed here. Clear? And if you want to provide any configuration like report name and document title, and if you want to change the theme, all these things you can actually apply, guys. Fine. So let's create one more report, like for only failed test cases. Let's create one more report. So where you can create that? Here. So let's copy that code. So I'm copying that code from previous classes, guys. So this Spark report failed, I'm going to attach to this extend reports, right? So where is that? Okay. So I need to place these 2 things above this line. And inside this, I need to attach this one also, Spark reporter failed. So I'm generating one for all the test cases, and I'm going to generate one for failed test cases only. And while opening the report also, I need to open the failed one also, right? So this is the failed one. So here I'm going to add this, and let me close the entire Chrome browser. And now we can just run this. And if you want to provide any configuration, you can provide that, guys. So let me add a little bit of configuration here. I will say config dot set report name. So this is for failed things only, right? So I'll say failure test, failure report. Okay. So in the similar way for all, I'll add one more report name, all test report. Okay. And this is the object. So I'm just trying to show you all the things here, guys. That's it. Okay. So now we are generating multiple reports, and let me just run this. So you can see the test cases are actually being executed. Chrome and Firefox are completed, and Edge is being executed. Right. So now the report should be opened. You can see there are 2 reports that are opened, right? One for all the test cases. You can see all the test cases, and one for only the failed test cases. And here the failure report is also written, and here all test report is also written, right? So which means everything is working perfectly, right? So this is how you are going to work with the extend reports in TestNG, guys. You understood, right? So this is going to be a little bit confusing, guys, but if you have the good understanding on the annotations, then it is a very, very easy topic. Fine. So just watch this video one more time, and you will be able to understand this video entirely easily. Okay. So that is for this video, guys. I hope you enjoy this video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, and also share this video with your friends. And if you learn anything, please mention that in the comment section below, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.